Some of my best friends, especially from New Orleans, have called me Three Scoops. It's go for it, go for it, go for the best. And look at this, boy, y'all.
Sister Margaret Ann, to me, represents vim, vigor, and vitality.
She's just full of enthusiasm. There's a Greek phrase, en theos, which means filled with God. And to me, Sister Margaret Ann is the personification of en theos.
She has been the mentor for lots of people in Dallas in a leadership position in the Dallas community, and she's just a great lady from a great family.
Sister Margaret Ann we call Dodie.
There's somebody who gets things done.
Well, she exemplifies the I will serve motto. Serviam is I will serve. And of course, every Ursuline girl has it engraved in their hearts, and even when we graduate, we will still serve.
My great-grandfather came from Bern, Switzerland in 1874.
He had 37 acres at the corner of Ross Avenue and Greenville Avenue. He formed his dairy there, and when he bought it in the 1870s, it was, of course, outside the city limits.
It's interesting that was the same year that the Ursuline sisters came to Dallas and established Ursuline Academy.
He died at a fairly young age. His wife, Anna, she was a business person, and she subdivided the land into lots. Dad built houses on a lot of those lots himself.
So that connection between, the Mosers arriving and Ursuline starting really made a big difference, especially in Dodie's life,
Sister Margaret Ann loves Ursuline, and she loves her family and takes very good care of both.
My mother and dad met at a dance. My Aunt Anna Catherine was a classmate of Mother's at Ursuline, and so she brought Dad along, and when they were at the dance, he said to her,
"For when Irish eyes are smiling."
Who is that pretty Irish girl with those beautiful blue eyes? Mother and Dad married on New Year's Eve in 1935 at St. Alphonsus Church in Murrinsville, Pennsylvania. Faith and a happy family life were very, very important to my parents, and certainly education. I grew up in a family of 9 children. I was the second oldest. I was born a year and 4 days after my sister Teresa.
I think she came out of the womb ready to make us start laughing.
The house we grew up in, I believe he built that. It was a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. And you can imagine with all us kids in that place, it was a little bit crowded. When Dodie was about 4 and I was 2 or 3, she looked at me one day and said, "Buddy," said, "your ears are too big." Says, I'll take care of that. I said, "Well, okay." She got a pair of scissors and started to walk toward me with those scissors.
And she was going to cut off his ears, trim them to make them fit. And of course, my mother always has her eye on them, especially when Dodie's around. So she came out and, of course, rescued Bud.
I went to Ursuline from kindergarten through the 6th grade at the old Ursuline convent where my mother went to school and my 2 aunts.
So we had just a great education there. We could get there on the bus for 3 cents.
I actually went to kindergarten at the old convent. Of course, the boys were confined to the basement.
But my mother wanted us to be graceful, and so we took ballet.
We were getting ready to come out on the stage. It was the Waltz of the Flowers, and we were roses. Teresa was about 3 ahead of me to come pirouetting outside around the stage, and I looked down and my toe shoe strap broke. And I remembered, no joke, I remember saying, "God, if you get me through this," because this is my pride, "if you get me through this, I'll be a nun." I remember in my mind saying that.
Well, God has His ways, I have to tell you.
God knew that that shoe would not fall off, but I didn't.
We finally moved in 1953 to Avondale to be closer to the old Jesuit and to Holy Trinity.
Actually, I thought of Holy Trinity Parish as the Mecca of Catholic families because we had so many large families.
It was a huge group of kids, and we all played together, a lot of it in our backyard. Every one of them, as far as I know, they were all Catholic.
We called the neighborhood Vatican City.
Dodie, she was always the life of the party wherever she was. She was pulling pranks all the time at Ursuline. They did the old thing of hanging a bloody arm out the trunk of a car.
And we had ketchup on our arms, and we'd drive into Ursuline thinking, well, we're going to really scare the nuns. And I looked out of the trunk, and there was a police car right behind us. The joke ended up on us. I did love to make people laugh, to be honest.
I was not expecting her to go into the convent.
I was very surprised when she went into the convent.
She's something of a cut-up, and I thought, no, that's not really what a nun is like.
It was just that she was so bubbly and outgoing. I couldn't see them being able to confine her.
Tisa and Dodie were both in different orders. They went in at the same time.
And I know it was very, very difficult for my parents.
In the summertime, we'd go visit them whenever we could. You know, Mom and Dad would load everybody up in the car, and off we go.
They would come and they could visit for 3 hours on Sunday.
We could not go home at that time. We could not eat with our families at that time.
We'd visit them. They were wearing those horrible outfits back then. All that starch.
But again, Mother and Dad kept us together.
And that just tells you what loving parents they were.
And I think God should open the doors of heaven to them because they kept the rules of the convent for those 8 years.
We were much more apart from the world, and the beauty of Vatican II is that we came to see ourselves as a part of the world.
This is St. Angela Merici.
Our foundress, St. Angela, she was an Italian woman in the 16th century, and when she started us, she said, we are to be among the people. We are to be there for the families, for the women, for the girls, who at that time were not allowed to go to school. We are to be their catechist. It was Vatican II that, as we say, opened the windows, let in the Holy Spirit. Sister Margaret Ann would have just been beginning her teaching career at that time.
I was gone 31 years from Dallas, and it was like leaving home in New Orleans to come home. Never dreamed I would ever come back and serve my alma mater.
The Sister Margaret Ann that I know is focused and firm. She's a strong leader.
As Ursuline sisters, we have a whole heritage of collaboration. That's the only way you can succeed. You could never do the works we're called upon unless it was in great collaboration using the gifts of the laity.
The school has moved forward, in my opinion, from a sleepy little campus with a reasonable enrollment to a vibrant campus with a maximum enrollment.
But what it is today, I think, has been attributed greatly to Sister Margaret Ann's leadership.
Sister Mary Ann Owen, Sister Pauline and I were partners in crime, and I'll tell you, we had a great time together.
Pauline was a part of our Friends Place family and team, and a very integral part, and Margaret Ann was her right hand.
I was privileged to be able to live with her for 12.5 years at the Transitional Living Center, which was a wonderful center for young women 18 to 23.
She always found ways to include Catholic Charities as a part of the Ursuline community, and not just us, but many, many others. And as we were looking to expand the Catholic housing program, especially St. Joseph's Village in Capel, we knew we needed more Catholic presence on the board, and we needed people of stature. And immediately, Margaret came to mind. And Margaret's own connection with families that she has quietly helped over the years has been, for me, an absolute model of how you go about using your position for the benefit of other people.
Sister Margaret Ann is like my second mom. She has helped my family stay very strong in our faith, especially because she's sort of our motivator.
She's very motherly, she's reliable, very, very reliable, and she's very caring.
Dodie, we've heard all the stories tonight, but we know who you are.
And we love you, and we know that your parents are so proud of you.
That generation of people, for all of us, it was their commitment to service that inspired each of us to the vocations we found. And just to see how the church in Dallas now is blossoming and is reaping some of the fruit of those generations is just a real gift.
I think the value of community, the value of family, the value of giving back, that's where it is. Go for 3 scoops. If you're going to give back, let's try to go for 3 scoops as best we can.